Nirvana are without a doubt one of the most influential bands of all time. Their legacy transcends generations and they remain as relevant now as their peak in the 90s. Their seemingly endless documented history allows us to relive their story and explore why and how they connected with so many people all across the world. In this video, I'll be diving into the meteoric rise of Nirvana and how the UK's music landscape helped propel them to becoming the biggest band in the world. I'd like to begin in 1989, the Bleach era. Nirvana was still very much an underground band after releasing their debut album Bleach in June of 1989 under independent label Sub Pop Records. The dichotomy between the success of Bleach and reception to their debut album between the US and UK markets were like night and day. This is because Sub Pop Records had a large cult following in Britain, with many fans that followed the label closely and would purchase anything with a little Sub Pop logo sticker on a corner of an album. While this definitely happened in America to some extent, UK audiences were certainly more primed for alternative rock on a large scale, with the Manchester scene being at its peak in the late 80s and early 90s, as opposed to the corporate rock and glam metal that dominated the US mainstream. In actual reality, the UK's music press and wider society has historically lauded alternative acts and artists that go against the grain and challenge the status quo far before they have success, if any at all, in America. Some notable bands being the Sex Pistols, Sonic Youth, the Smiths, the Stone Roses, Pixies and many more. Even as far back as the Jimi Hendrix experience in the 60s to some extent. The Seattle sound and grunge music was sought after in Britain, with Nirvana very much leading the way and pioneering the scene. While there may be various explanations to this, in my opinion, two key aspects of Nirvana's early success in Britain can be attributed to the small size of the country and the reduced range of cultural diversity. Now, I ain't no expert, but when I look across at America, to me it seems that there is so much more diversity and a range of influences and cultures, partly due to the sheer size of the country allowing for more uniqueness amongst people. For example, entire genres of music that may have much more popularity in the United States, such as bluegrass, Americana, country and soul, have very little to nearly no prominence across the pond. Whereas in the UK, irregardless of the cultural differences between the four countries, by and large, generally people live more similarly and exposed to the same things on a national scale. This makes the UK so much easier to tour, sell records and gain widespread and national popularity and recognition when compared to the United States, and perhaps why Britain has championed so much alternative and indie music. All in all, these contributing factors potentially explain why Bleach performed so much better in the charts across the pond, and even received the Best Album of the Week upon release by influential British magazine Melody Maker. It may also be why the only single released from the album was the Blue EP, a UK exclusive that featured the first look at new tracks like Stain and Being a Sun. Let's now move on to Nirvana's first UK tour. Nirvana began their first European tour in October 1989, which began in Newcastle in England. Within their first week on British soil, they also recorded a live session for influential BBC Radio 1 DJ John Peel, which later featured and aired on the show the following month. The Heavier Than Heaven tour was by all accounts grueling and chaotic, unsurprising considering the fact that they played 36 shows in 42 days, trekking around Europe in a tiny Fiat van cramped alongside 10 other people, the mammoth from the band Tad being one of them. It was certainly eventful, with its fair share of nervous breakdowns, unreliable equipment and catastrophes like Kurt having his passport stolen while asleep at a train station in Rome. However, to quote an excerpt from Michael Azzerad's biography, Come As You Are, the band was unprepared for the adulation they received in Europe. Although the UK press raved about Nirvana, the band had no idea that they had so many fans over there. They simply weren't getting any sales reports from their UK label. Virtually every show was sold out, the venues were packed, and there were lines around the block. This tumultuous experience proved to be very beneficial for the band in the long run. With the buzz from the John Peel sessions and the intense energy throughout the tour from both band and audience, their final gig at the Astoria on December the 3rd in 1989 in London, to their biggest crowd to date, was a landmark performance that propelled the band to a new level of recognition. They were now the hottest underground group at the time, with success being only a stone's throw away. In 1990, the band continued what was a fairly consistent touring schedule, and in early April they recorded 7 songs with producer Butch Vig. These demos would ultimately form the basis of Nirvana's sophomore album Nevermind, and are known as the Sound City Sessions. Tracks included Lithium, Polly, and the alternate version of In Bloom, the one with skinhead Chris Novoselic running around Seattle, tossing air equipment and eating hot dogs, is it, on the pier, something like that? I prefer that version. 1990 also marked the end of the road for drummer Chad Channing, who played his last show with the band in May and was fired/quit, depending on what side of the story you listen to, for contrasting styles in the songwriting process. After some time searching for the perfect drummer, Dave Grohl joined the band shortly before their second UK tour. He would become Nirvana's 6th drummer. Having learned from last time, they embarked on a short UK tour to promote their new single Sliver, which funnily enough only came out over 2 months after they left the country. Whilst in Britain, they also recorded another session for John Peel, and their first recording experience with Dave Grohl on drums. He was definitely the missing piece of the puzzle, and exactly what the band needed at that time. This session further reinforced their popularity and reputation in the UK, and included 2 new songs, D7 and Molly's Lips, which later featured on Incesticide in 1992. One of my favourite ever Nirvana gigs also occurred at the Leeds Polytechnic on October the 25th. It was an awesome high energy set with a chaotic crowd and full of stage diving. A bit unusual seeing Kurt Cobain only playing in a short sleeve t-shirt too. Let's now progress to 1991, the year that Nirvana broke the mainstream. Nevermind was recorded at Sound City Studios in California in May and June of that year after moving to major label Geffen Records. They played 92 shows throughout that year, a staggering amount and a significant increase from the 62 they played the previous. They toured the UK twice in 1991, first supporting their hero Sonic Youth for their Goo European tour. It was a monumental experience for the band and their first time playing big outdoor music festivals. According to Kurt, these were also the greatest times to be in Nirvana, right before the release of Nevermind, where there was an excitement in the air of what could be. Perhaps the most infamous show of this tour was none other than their set at the Reading Festival on August the 23rd, 1991. It was the first major festival that Nirvana had ever played, and many iconic photos of the band were taken, particularly those of Kurt playing his iconic Vandalism Stratocaster. Kurt also taught us how to play the blues scale during that performance.
The blues scale!
Magnificent. 2 weeks later, they recorded their third and final session for the Peel show, which included amazing renditions of Dumb and Drain You, arguably even better than their respective album versions.
One baby to another says I'm lucky to meet you.
especially given the fact that the band were completely exhausted from touring during the recording of their set. They then returned to the States for some much needed rest and also recorded the legendary Smells Like Teen Spirit music video during their time off. Nevermind was released on September the 24th, 1991, and the rest is history. We'll leave the story there for now. If you'd like to see me make a part 2 video on the rise of Nirvana, specifically focusing on the Nevermind era and how they conquered the world, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing on your way out. If you could give me a follow on my social media, on Instagram and TikTok, check out my other content I've got on here, that'd be very much appreciated. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.
You're gonna get